Well, hi YouTubers. Okay, this is another of the 365 100 books. This is a reread, but I saw it in the library and I had to get it. Home by Julie Andrews, a memoir of my early years. Now, this is a biased review because I love Julie Andrews. I have loved Julie Andrews since I was little. I can actually quote Mary Poppins because I just love that film. I love her. So, Victoria, The Princess Diaries, Eloise at the Plaza with that really strange accent she's got going on. So, Julie Andrews can do no wrong in my eyes. She's just practically perfect in every way. So, and I've actually met her. I've met Dame Julie Andrews. It was a few years ago. It was in Harrods, London. And she did a signing of The Sound of Music and Simon's Gift, I believe it is, that children's book that she wrote. And I was in the queue for like 5 hours. I got there quite early. And it was a really nice queue for the fans, you know, talking about her favourite films and how wonderful she is. And when I met her, she's just amazing. She looked like she just walked off the set of A Princess Diaries. She wore like a Hermes scarf, looking very regal, looking very just perfect. And she actually apologised to me because I was waiting like 5 hours. She was like, "I'm so sorry you had to wait 5 hours." And I was like, "Miss Andrews, I waited over 20 years." And she just smiled and her face lit up. And oh my God, she's just perfect. Oh, I love Julie Andrews in everything. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, so this is a biased review, but I don't care because I love Julie Andrews. I love the fact this is I actually think is so respectful. They're doing a sequel to Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins Returns with Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins now. Julie Andrews is not going to be in it. She's refused a cameo, which I think is fantastic because she's moved on from that and she basically stepped back and said, "No, I was Mary Poppins, but Emily Blunt is now Mary Poppins." And she knows that if she had a cameo at all, that it would overshadow Emily Blunt's performance, and that's not fair. So, as a fan of Julie Andrews, I am pleased that she's not cameoing as the new Mary Poppins film. I do hope, though, that Dick Van Dyke cameos as hopefully Senior Dawes, because that's the actual role he played in the original Mary Poppins. Now he's old enough, and Dick Van Dyke is fantastic. And I loved it. I loved him as Bert. Loved him. I mean, people kind of dismiss his Cockney accent, but I actually love it because it goes with my own theory that since Bert was created for the film, this is not in the books. I've actually read the books too. Bert's not human. Bert is basically Mary Poppins' kind of like spiritual guide or angel on Earth, if you will, which is why that he's always changing jobs. And he's always there when she needs him to be. Ever noticed that? So I love his accent because it gives credence to my own theory that Bert isn't human. That's what I'm going to say. So now Julie Andrews, due to the fact she's Julie Andrews, she's Dame Julie, you'd think she's lived as kind of like perfect life. It's practically perfect life. Reading this, no. Oh man, she has had the long haul struggle. I mean, I fell in love with her in the 80s and 90s, post Mary Poppins and Sound of Music. So, but to get where she did, to get at that point, she had the long struggle. Her parents were actors. Her biological family is very kind of, it's on a wiki page, I'm going to link to that. But it's very kind of convoluted. And she had the long haul. She was born with this natural 3-octave voice, I do believe. And she had the long haul to get where she was. She was on stage from a very young age. She had the long struggle up, and she was forced into being this little girl with a big voice. Even though she was growing and developing, she was kind of forced into this role. And this is a book about a woman who really kind of took control of her destiny. When she was offered a 2-year contract on stage, she refused. She only would do one, which no one else would have that gumption. So this is a story of how people took advantage of her, like her agent and her manager, to take more from her, which she talks about people with professionalism and politeness. She writes how she talks. You can imagine Julie Andrews reading this book aloud at high tea at the Ritz or Harrods with scones and clotted cream and jam and, you know, with pinkies raised. She writes how she talks. And she's perfect. I mean, just look at The Princess Diaries. I'm going to go back to that because that's one of my... Not because Anne Hathaway. I mean, I love Anne Hathaway anyway. But just her and Joe. Her connection and chemistry with Hector Lizador is the reason I love this film so much. The end of the second film, when finally and they get together. You're like, oh, Joe and Clarice. Anyway, let's talk about the book. Now, this part here, I'm going to read aloud, okay? Because this shows what she had to do to get to where she was. This is page 87. And it's a screen test of MGM. Just throw that. Okay. The screen test took place at MGM Studios in Elstree. Lots of still photographs were taken, but it soon became apparent that they needed to gussle me up a bit because I was so exceedingly plain. The hair department curled my hair into ringlets, and I ended up looking like a ghastly version of Shirley Temple. We pressed on. For the screen test itself, I sang a song, then I talked to Mr. Pasternak on camera, and finally I performed a little scene. The storyline was that I was being tucked into bed by my mother, and we discussed the fact that my father had disappeared and not been home for years. This made me tear up, which was embarrassing. As I was lying in bed almost asleep, the door opened, a man entered, and I sat up with arms outstretched and cried out, "Daddy!" Suffice to say, the end result was so bad that had ever emerged and may never have worked again. A final determination was, she's not photogenic enough for film, and that was the end of that. Not photogenic enough for film. Seriously? Mary Poppins, anyone? Yeah, so this is the story of an actress' long struggle to the top, but she does it in a way that is very, very respectful, and I love that about her. I mean, she knows that she was born into a family where she was blessed to have people who supported her and instructed her. But at the same time, you know, just by reading this, and from Julie Andrews herself, she's a determinator, and you love this about her. The final bits towards the end where she's working on My Fair Lady, which I kind of caught with a melancholy air, because I love this. She had to be taught how to do a Cockney accent. Yeah. Now, obviously, I've never heard a Cockney accent, but I've watched Eloise at the Plaza, and I was like, really? Okay. And so that's the fact she had to be taught how to do a Cockney accent. And she's very, very professional about the fact that her work with Rex Harrison, because obviously Rex Harrison, if you've seen that film, he's perfection. The way he sings and speaks is just spot on. And sadly, there's no film of the TV show, so he's filmed a play ever emerged. So, but the way she talks about him, from the curmudgeon that she originally met to like the father figure he'd become, and it's beautiful. I mean, she talks about her voice as well and how it affects her, which is quite sad really when you know what's going to happen further on the line, which her beautiful voice would no longer be, you know, as it was. And there's this bit here, okay, regarding My Fair Lady and Audrey Hepburn, okay? Okay. Often I am asked about how I felt about not landing a role of Eliza in the film version of My Fair Lady. I know Alan hoped that Warner Brothers would cast me, but eventually the role was given to Audrey Hepburn. At the time, I completely understood their choice. Warner Brothers needed a big name for their marquee, and although I had starred on Broadway, there was a very small pond compared to the rest of America and the world. In later years, I did wish that I had been able to record my performance somehow, somewhere for posterity, or at least for my grandchildren. Audrey and I became good friends, and one day she said to me, "Julie, you should have done the role." But I didn't have the guts to turn it down. Well, very civil of you to say that, Miss Hepburn. But one thing I did love, now the thing is about Audrey Hepburn, is Audrey Hepburn was dubbed by Marnie Nixon. Yeah. So, now I read this, I believe, on IMDb, or an interview somewhere, I might try to find it on IMDb, was that Marnie Nixon was also one of the nuns in The Sound of Music. And, yeah, so at the time there's a bit of a kind of, not bad blood going on, but people kind of wondered what the reaction would be, because Julie Andrews did Eliza Doolittle on stage, Audrey Hepburn did it for the film, and then Marnie Nixon, the third party, came in to dub Audrey Hepburn. Would it be bad blood? But first day on set, Julie Andrews walked over to Marnie and told her what a big fan she was. And everyone was kind of like, we can breathe now, we can relax, there's no hostility, because there wouldn't be. Obviously, I know I actually like My Fair Lady, but I do wish that it would have been Julie Andrews. That's just, I think that's everyone's opinion on that. So yeah, I mean, this is a book which is honest about the struggle of being a working actress and becoming known, but it's also about an actress, a woman, who took control of her own life and her destiny. I mean, it ends, and this is no spoiler here, it ends with the Mary Poppins role, and it is quite funny, okay? Since by now, there's been Saving Mr. Banks and books about P.L. Travers and her hostility regarding Mary Poppins and the film. And she actually wrote it like in her will, if they ever did Mary Poppins on stage, it could have no songs from the film. And I've actually seen Mary Poppins on stage, and it's actually very good. So yeah, so there's that coming in, and so it ends. So literally, just days after her birth of her daughter Emma, she gets a call from P.L. Travers, and God, the way she describes it is, I'm not going to go into the book. It's very kind of snap. So, but the thing is, with this book, and I do recommend it, it's a story of a long haul to get where she is. And I love how she describes a relationship with Carol Burnett. Now, Carol Burnett, I've known since I was little because Annie. So, now the thing is, for a certain generation, Carol Burnett is known as Miss Hannigan in the movie Annie. And growing up, me and my sister used to reenact Annie, and she was always Annie, and I was always Miss Hannigan. So I loved Miss Hannigan. She was cool. So the way she's got a relationship with Carol Burnett, they are very, very different kind of women, but they've got so much in common to get to this point where they are, and I love that. The way she describes the world around her, the world of the stage, you feel like you're there with her. You're standing next to her. When she describes the work on Camelot, her relationship with her ex-husband, her late husband, Tony, and the love she feels, she's very, very to the point. But she writes in this beautiful kind of rhythm style. It's very kind of, it's so eloquent, you know. She's written this book. She doesn't want to really kind of impress anyone or kind of impose her ideal. She's writing this book. She wrote this book out of respect for her craft, for her family. So she's beautifully diplomatic, and she is just practically perfect in every way. So I recommend this book, Home, a memoir of my early years by Julie Andrews. I can't get enough of it. I'm going to put links to it, links to Julie Andrews. She's now on Twitter, and I love her so much. So Dame Julie, as a fan since I was like yay high, I salute you and I love you, and you truly are practically perfect in every way. So sign off. Is it the Physics 100 books? And bye now.